Sheikh Salman Ghani from Al-Maghrib Institute Qiblatul Husna. Just a little bit about the Sheikh. So Sheikh Salman started his quest for Islamic learning almost 2 decades ago, which led him to complete a Bachelor's of Arts in Islamic Studies and Master's in Islamic Finance. He also holds a Master of Science in Finance. His current focus is Islamic finance, while also pursuing a doctor's degree in technology from Purdue. He is an IT program manager by trade and resides with his family here in Houston, where he holds classes and delivers lectures on various Islamic subjects. Inshallah, tonight's topic is about Laylat-ul-Qadr, and inshallah is going to be divided into a couple of sessions. So we'll have the first session, and then we're going to have a break, and then we're going to have a second session, and we're going to have a break, and then we're going to go to the third session, inshallah. Between the sessions, inshallah, we plan on stretching and getting some snacks, inshallah. Without further delay, I would like to welcome Sheikh Salman. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khatim nabiyyin. والإمام المرسلين حبيبنا ونبينا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. My dear elders and my brothers on my left side, it will be impolite for me not to address you and not look at you when I'm speaking. But I can assure you, if I have to snap my neck this much every 2 seconds or so, something will break. So I request, inshallah, to make easy for my neck, if you can move slightly this way, I would appreciate it dramatically. Further up? Okay. I'm running out of lapel to place it on. It's literally the topmost I can go. Is this best? Better? Okay, alhamdulillah, glad to hear that. Like it was mentioned that today's program, inshallah, is divided into 3 parts. Yes, the focus is primarily on Salah and Laylat-ul-Qadr, but that's not the only thing we'll be discussing. The way I envision the program, especially to make things easy and less dull, how about that, is for me to speak for 30-35 minutes, inshallah, one session, have a break 5-10 minutes, inshallah, another 30-40 minute session, and that will be far more interactive because that will, the second session we're going to display, inshallah, on our projector screens. After that, another break, 5-10 minutes, and then a third session. And we can call the night around 1:30, something like that, inshallah, for you to be able to catch a few winks before we have the Qiyam program, inshallah. But Qiyam is something that is of great value to us and something that we'll discuss today. And in fact, the program that we have today is in conjunction with Qiyamul Layl. Everyone knows the idea, heard about the idea was Qiyamul Layl. But what is Qiyamul Layl? Before we get to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned the word Qiyamul Layl in some degree in the Quran itself, in which he says, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, qumil layla illa qalila. Qum al-layl. Stand up and al-layl. Stand up where? During the night time. Qumil layla illa qalila. Nisfahu awin qus minhu qalila. أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا إن ناشئة الليل هي أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا. The first 6 ayats of Surah Al-Muzammil, they have a historical background. Many of you have heard about this. Famously, when Ar-Rasul was in the cave of Hira, and when Jibreel embraced him very strongly, he rushed back to his wife and he famously said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, cover me up, cover me up. It is said that these ayat were revealed at that time. Ya ayyuhal muzammil, or the one wrapped up or covered up. Also the ayat, also the beginning of Surah Al-Muddathir is the same, the one wrapped up and covered up. This ayah is very interesting, Ya ayyuhal muzammil. This ayah, even though was revealed upon Ar-Rasul for very likely that scenario in which he says, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, is still applicable upon us today. Because let's be honest, one of the most difficult things to do to get up at night is to throw off your blanket and stand up. You're covered, The word he'll be ensconced in the comfort, the warm embrace of your blanket, or you wrapped up in your blanket. Qum al-layl, stand up and pray. Illa qalila, pray at night except a little. Nisfa, half of it. Awin qus, a little less, or a little more than that. And recite the Quran in a slow, pleasant recitation. Indeed, we will send down upon you a heavy word. This ayah is for Rasul alayhi only. But the next ayah, Inna nashiyat al-layl, hiya ashaddu wa aqwamu qila. The recitation at night is difficult, or rather getting up at night for tahajjud prayer is difficult. Allah knows that, and He admits to that, and He mentions that here. And yet it is most potent and good for governing yourself, and most suitable for understanding the word of Allah. Which means the best time for you to comprehend the Quran is midnight, or rather past midnight. Why do we say this? Understand what these ayahs are saying. When a person is alone after having woken up at night, you don't have any distractions. Most of us have no job or work at that time. Most of us at that moment are so groggy, we actually would not rush to check our cell phones. We may do that at Fajr time, because many of us have that anxiety, but at that moment, very likely no one would do that. Because the natural grogginess, the sluggishness of the mind actually works in your favor. So if you get up in the middle of the night, make wudu, and then start praying, it will be the best time for you to do so. Even if you do not understand Arabic language at any length, this is the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make your hidayah, a connection with the Quran, the strongest. Whether you recite just 4 ayat or 400, it does not matter. If you are able to comprehend some of the Quran, absorption will be greater at this time. These are what the ayat is saying. If you want to comprehend the Quran, if you want to become understanding of it, if you want to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best time to do so is in the middle of the night, when the entire ummah is sleeping. That's the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said, Afshu salam, wa atumit ta'am, wa salul arham, wa sallu bil layl wa nasu niyam, tadkhulu jannata bi salam. Famously, the hadith narrated by the Sahabi Abdullah ibn Salam. That's just a coincidence here. But Abdullah ibn Salam, the Jewish rabbi who accepted Islam, radiallahu anhu, he famously narrated this hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, spread the salam and feed the poor people and maintain ties of kinship and get up at night and pray while the rest of mankind is sleeping. This will cause you to enter Jannah. May Allah make us from those people. If you were to reflect on these ayat of Surah Al-Muzammil, the first thing of reflection is the Prophet ﷺ at that moment felt dejected, or felt scared, or felt confused. At that moment, Allah's command is for him to do what? Get up and pray. So if anxiety overcomes you, if you feel scared, if you're worried, if there's something nagging in the back of your mind, stand up and pray. Even if it's not the middle of the night, stand up and pray. That's a good solution. It will calm your nerves, make things easy, reassure you that someone who has full command over your life, even if you don't, is the one whom you're worshiping. And inshallah, he will find a way for you. That's the solution we always should seek from Salah. That's the reason why the Quran confirms, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. When a calamity befalls you, first become calm. Do not lose your mind. Do not lose focus. Do not start yelling around, screaming around, running around. Calm down. The first thing. The second is as-salah. Go and pray. Also, the word as-salah can be understood here linguistically. That is, make dua. And both will work here. Because a person who's afflicted with a calamity, calm down first and foremost, make dua, and if you have the capacity, get up and pray. That's the solution. Number 2, standing up and praying will make you strong-willed and firm-footed. This is something we also get from these ayat. It will give a person the strength of speech. The person who wants to be someone who's not easily influenced by others, easily swayed by others, someone who's not easily overcome by others. If you want to have truthfulness in speech, if you want strong-willedness, if you want the capacity to stand up to any degree of oppression or tyranny, stand up and pray at night. That will be a solution, and I wait for that to happen easier for you. Number 3, Without salah, you will not be able to preach, teach, and endure difficulties of daily life. That's one of the important things for tullabul ilm. That's not just for tullabul ilm, that's for all mankind. Any solution that you want, you need to have a strong connection with Allah, because you need your du'as to be accepted. One of the easiest ways for connection to become stronger with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is for you to pray and pray a lot. And the best time to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outside the fard salawat are the night prayers. Number 4, salah will give you a physical boost and heal you emotionally and help you bounce back. Allah commanded Musa alayhi salam to do the same thing. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِ, and perform salah and mention me. Whenever calamity befell the Prophet Allah alayhi salam, or if he would become stressed, he would rush towards salah. Our situation as Muslimun, just the opposite. The exam is coming up, I've not studied, I'm so unsure, what do I do? I barely pray 4 rakah. Salatul Dhuhr. In fact, I'm going to skip the 4 sunnah before and the 4 sunnah afterwards. I don't have time, I'm too distracted. The Prophet ﷺ, his solution is opposite. When he becomes stressed, he prays more. I have my job interview coming up, I'm too focused on last minute catching up to do by looking, I don't have time to pray. Brothers and sisters, this is the time for you to pray. This is the time where you need to exert yourself. This is the time for you to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you pray, it will relax you. You'll be able to focus better in your studies. If you pray, it will relax you. You'll be able to have a better interview. Do not abandon salah during times of anxiety. Increase in salah. Aisha narrated, the Prophet ﷺ used to pray at night until his feet would become sore. He was asked, Ya Rasulullah, why do you strain yourself so when Allah has declared in the Quran, غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِن ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ. We have forgiven your sins from the past and others in the future that we'll do. So he replied, أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Should I not be a grateful servant? This hadith tells us one of the best ways to express thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to pray. Yes, you can say, Alhamdulillah, Ashukru lillah. Absolutely. But better than that and more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to pray. When some great news comes to you, a child is born to you, or a grandchild is born to you, for that matter, or you get a promotion, or you get a fantastic bonus, fall in sajdatul shukr, that's the first thing. The second thing, if you have the time, pray 2 rakah sunnah. Just thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the solution of, this is the methodology of Ar-Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam. Whenever you want to express thanks to his Rabb, he prays. What is Qiyamul Layl? Coming back to discussion. Qiyam, as I said before, means standing. Al-Layl means at night. What are you doing standing over there? Serving fruit? Playing cricket? Oh, I'm sorry, playing basketball. You're praying at night. That's what Qiyamul Layl stands for. Standing up and praying at night. We understand Qiyamul Layl, any salah which is done after Salatul Isha, the fard, and any time before the time Fajr begins. Any time between that time is Qiyamul Layl for you. So good news, every single time you pray that 2 rakah after Isha, that's counted as Qiyamul Layl for you. Every single time you pray witr, is counted as Qiyamul Layl for you, even outside of the month of Ramadan. So alhamdulillah, in a matter of speaking, everyone here prays Qiyamul Layl to some degree. The question is, can you increase in that? In the month of Ramadan, we do that. We call it Taraweeh. What do you think Taraweeh is? Taraweeh is Qiyamul Layl. It's prayed after Salatul Isha. Why do we do it excessively? Because in the month of Ramadan, we want to exert ourselves. We want to do more than what we're able to do outside the month of Ramadan. And for that matter, let's be blunt about this. We are able to do a lot in the month of Ramadan, are we not? There is much more barakah in this month, even when it comes to ibadah. So, if a person wants to engage in salawat after Taraweeh, what are those? This is something that we always are concerned with. This is called tahajjud. What is the time for tahajjud? The time for tahajjud, from 2 separate ahadith, once half the night passes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends to the lowest heaven and he asks, is there any of my slaves who's looking for something or who's looking for mercy so I can be merciful towards them? Is any of my slaves seeking my forgiveness so I can forgive them? Is any of my slaves asking for something, I can give them that? The scholars are saying it is ludicrous for a person who needs something that they do not get up at night. Because Allah is guaranteeing, I will grant your wish. You have to at least get up and make dua. If you need something, if you have a problem, if you desire something, want to acquire something, get up and pray tahajjud. It is the most meritorious salah in our deen outside of the fard salawat. Tahajjud or Qiyamul Layl in general, it is a sign of goodness. Hafsa, radiallahu anha, our mother, the wife of An-Nabi, alayhi salatu salam, she reported that once my brother Abdullah asked a question of a sensitive nature, and I asked a question on his behalf to An-Nabi, alayhi salatu salam, her husband. He gave the answer, but he also added, what an excellent man Abdullah is, if only he would get up at night and pray. Salim, Abdullah's son, narrates this hadith from his aunt. He says, after that night, my father slept very little throughout his entire life at night. He always got up and prayed. This was his covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this was his obedience to An-Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam. Tahajjud can be performed easily if you want to stay awake. But the higher from tahajjud is actually if you go to sleep. You may say, that sounds like unnecessary torture. No, it's supreme form of discipline for you to actually fall asleep and then get up. The most virtuous prayer except the fard is the one offered by becoming awake after sleep at night. These are the words of An-Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam, found in Sahih Muslim. Which means, if you go to sleep right now and then get up for Qiyamul Layl at this masjid at 3:30 p.m., that has more virtue than you staying awake and then joining the 3:30 prayer. If it's easy for you to join by staying awake, please don't fall asleep. I'd rather you pray than don't pray. But if you can get up, go to sleep and then wake up. Don't go to sleep right now. A little bit later, inshallah, when the program ends, and then go to sleep for 2 hours or so, inshallah. Get up and pray. As I said, for many of you joining right now, I intend to keep the program shorter today. We're going to have 3 programs, one going on right now, 5-10-minute break, half an hour, 40 minutes, another program, 5-10-minute break, and then in half an hour, inshallah, we try to end around 1:30 tonight, bidnillahi ta'ala. And then you have at least 2 hours of time for you to sleep. Question arises, Qiyamul Layl. We hear a lot about the idea of standing. What is better, long qiyam or long sujood? The Prophet ﷺ said that an abd, a slave, is closest to his Rabb while he is sajda. So make dua as much as you can and call out to your Rabb. Which means every single time you're in your sajda, make dua, long dua, and that will naturally extend your sajda. Question arises one more time. Which is superior, long standing or long sajda? You tell me, brothers and sisters. What is better? You're all murmuring. Long sajda. That's one opinion. Good. Go ahead. Pardon me? You have to go opposite, obviously, right? You have to, how would you stand out? See, in this matter, okay, long standing. Yes, go ahead. Ahsantum, good point. I remind people all the time, when it comes to good deeds, our deen is not a this or that deen. Our religion is a this and that religion. So you do long standing, long ruku, and long sujood. And that is the sunnah of Ar-Rasul alayhi salam when it comes to Qiyamul Layl. However, the best format to start is based on the hadith of Aisha. When he would get up, Ar-Rasul alayhi salam, he would rub his eyes to get rid of sleepiness. Then he will go make wudu. And then he will pray 2 light rak'ah, which means what? He would pray 2 short rak'ah. And then he would pray 2 very long rak'ah. And then after that, 2 slightly shorter, 2 slightly shorter, 2 slightly shorter. That's how she described. So one more time, when you get up at night, one more time. She also describes 8 rak'ah. I'm not trying to start a discussion here. I'm just saying Qiyamul Layl, the way Aisha described was, he would wake up, make wudu, pray 2 very short rakat. Then the 3rd and the 4th rakat will be very long. Then the 5th and the 6th are slightly shorter. And the 7th and the 8th are shorter than that. And that's the way he would pray. And then he would pray witr, alayhi salatu wassalam. Natural question. Why is waking up so difficult at night? We know this from the hadith of An-Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam, in which he said, whenever one of you falls asleep, shaitan ties 3 knots on his head. When you wake up, the first knot is undone. When you make wudu, the 2nd knot is undone. And then when you pray 2 rak'ah sunnah, the 3rd knot is undone. In a separate hadith, An-Nabi ﷺ said, when a person gets up late and he misses Fajr, shaitan urinates in his ear. So one of my teachers said, do not become shaitan's toilet. Make sure you get up Fajr, inshallah. But the idea is simply this. that when you get up and you exert yourself, it's the easiest way to humiliate and defeat shaitan. Your entire existence should be humiliating and defeating shaitan. If you do that, you will succeed way better than you can imagine. That is your objective. Every single thing that irritates shaitan gives you immense hasanat. So go ahead and do those things. Sincerity is a must in any such action. If you want to get up, you have to be sincere before you fall asleep. Help yourself as much as you can, which means, quickly speaking, some etiquettes before we fall asleep are thus. First and foremost, if you have the capacity to do so, if it does not remove sleepiness from yourself, make wudu. The hadith of An-Nabi ﷺ is such that whenever you're about to go to sleep, right before you go to sleep, make wudu. That's from his sunnah. And there's great wisdom in that. He did not ask or he did not recommend us to do what? Take a shower. In fact, think about this. In most societies, even in Houston for that matter, when majority of the time is quite hot outside and we have to run air conditioning, making wudu right before sleeping actually helps a lot because it cools the body down sufficiently. However, if you were to take a shower, it will unnecessarily cool you down and wake you up. Wudu is a perfect threshold for you to cross that causes you to fall asleep quickly. So that's one of the etiquettes to do so. Number two, before you fall asleep, the last thing that you utter from your tongue before sleep completely overtakes you should be Ayatul Kursi. We know this from the hadith famously of Abu Huraira, in which he said that, I'll make the story short, he caught shaitan stealing from Baitul Mal without knowing it was shaitan, and he caught him 3 times. The 3rd time shaitan told him, if you let me go, I will give you a solution that if you were to recite this, shaitan will never come and bother you during the night. He said, what is that? He said, recite Ayatul Kursi. So he went back the next morning and told Rasul alayhi wasallam, he said, even though he's a lie, he told you the truth. So the last thing you should utter, the very last thing, is Ayatul Kursi. If you do that, I promise you in the name of Allah, you will never see a dirty and evil dream, ever. You will never be scared in your dream. You will never have a dream that causes you humiliation or a sense of disgust with yourself or anybody else for that matter. Because evil dreams are from shaitan. If you say Ayatul Kursi, you will never see an evil dream in your life, ever. All this discussion, brothers and sisters, is to bring to you the virtue of the last 10 nights. The virtue of the last 10 nights is something known to all of us. I give you a hypothetical scenario. Imagine we were to chase Laylat-ul-Qadr in the first 10 nights of the month of Ramadan, when we already have so much zeal and energy and zest in our heart to enter Ramadan and enjoy Ramadan. What will be the situation of the last 20 nights? The masajid will be completely empty. Worst of all, think of this hypothetical scenario. Imagine that Allah had designated the first night of Ramadan as Laylatul Qadr. No one will ever come to the masjid after that. There's no reason to. You caught Laylatul Qadr. It is from the great wisdom and planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He said Laylatul Qadr is the last 10 nights. Very likely the last 10 odd nights. Maybe it's the 21st or the 23rd, which happens to be tonight, or the 25th. Very likely the 27th, or perhaps even the 29th. It's not a guarantee the 27th. I hope for the sake of the Ummah, I hope it's 27th. I wish on the day of judgment we'll come and Allah inform us, yes, all of you were correct, it was the 27th. But we do not know that for sure. So do not treat the 27th as a guarantee that you have Laylatul Qadr. Make dua and hope. Tonight is also Laylatul Qadr. This second that you're sitting, inshallah, is being counted for you as hasanat. Make no mistake about this. Aisha said, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتكف العشر الأواخر من رمضان حتى توفاه الله. The Prophet ﷺ used to observe i'tikaf in the last 10 nights of Ramadan until Allah took his soul, which means he ﷺ was also seeking out Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. And this is from the perfect planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that after 20 days of exerting ourselves, when we become tired, and let's be blunt about this, when even fasting has become a routine for us and has lost its flavor, the last 10 nights revives our spirit for Ramadan, makes us think of earning the last, shall I say, the best way to describe it, to exert ourselves to reach the goal a little bit quicker, pushing ourselves a little bit further to get to the point of Laylatul Qadr. And that's the wisdom behind that. Laylatul Qadr is something that's been mentioned as such directly in the Quran. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. Indeed, we revealed it on the night of power. What is it? Al-Quran. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. And what can we tell you about Laylatul Qadr? Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. This is the crux of the matter, isn't it? Any single action that you do on Laylatul Qadr, it is multiplied more than 1,000 months of doing the same action. So let's explore this idea further. If you give $10 tonight, and inshallah it is Laylatul Qadr, it is as if you're giving $10 every single night, 1,000 months or more than that. Which means if you pray 2 rak'ah sunnah, it is as if you're praying 2 rak'ah sunnah every single night for a period of 1,000 years or 1,000 months or more than that. If you make wudu, one wudu in this night, inshallah, if it is Laylatul Qadr, it will be like this. If you're about to drink water and you do this, oh, hold on, that's not my water, mine was here, sorry about that. This one is my water. And I do this, Bismillah. That Bismillah is as if I'm saying Bismillah every single night for a period more than 1,000 months. This is what we see when we say Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. One more time. It is not 84 years and 4 months. It's khayr. Khayr is ismu tabdil here. It's superior to or better than worshipping or doing the same thing 1,000 nights, 1,000 months. Every night 1,000 months. That's what it means. The khayr here is more than that. How much more? We do not know. And that is also from the perfect planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you a sense of excitement. How much more can it be? We have no idea. And I promise you, it's not 85 years. It's a lot more than that. But how much more? We leave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to surprise us on the Day of Judgment for that. Excuse me. What can we do during these last 10 nights? Easiest things, obviously, all of you know this, but just exert yourself in more. If you have the capacity to do so, frequently make wudu. One more time, every single wudu is an action or ibadah by itself. Which means, if you catch Laylatul Qadr, you made wudu 3 nights, or 3 times that night. It is as if you made wudu 3 times for a period of every single night for a period more than 1,000 months. If you can give sadaqah more than once, do so. Yes, giving $100 great. How about this? Give sadaqah 5 times, $20 each, and spread out your sadaqah. In Islamic finance, we talk about the idea of diversifying, sorry, not just Islamic finance, finance general, diversifying your portfolio, which means what? You put your investment in multiple different places. What's the wisdom behind this? Simply put this, if this business fails, very likely that business will succeed. It will compensate for your loss. If that one fails, this business will succeed. It will compensate for the loss. This is exactly how we think when it comes to maximizing profit, when it comes to hasanat. Put your sadaqah in more than one place. So tonight, very quickly speaking, I'm going to talk about mythbusters related to sadaqah. Pay attention. The first is this. I already have a designated charity. I give my sadaqah to XYZ. I don't need to give anywhere else. How about you give to this and that? Remember I told you, our deen is a this and that deen when it comes to good deeds. And when it comes to bad deeds, neither this nor that. So when it comes to giving sadaqah, you give here and you give there. And you multiply many places wherever you can, inshallah. Number 2, I fear that if I give too much sadaqah, Allah will cause me to, or rather I will be ending up in poverty. Understand this. The hadith of Abi Kabsha, radiallahu anhu, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, I swear in the name of Allah, I swear in the name of Allah, I swear in the name of Allah. The Sahaba radiallahu anhu asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what are you swearing about? He said, sadaqah will never diminish your wealth. Which means every single time you give sadaqah, Allah will return that wealth back to you. And what comes attached to it? A boatload of hasanat that you can actually use in your favor on the Day of Judgment. Your money comes back to you and comes with a separate currency that you will purchase a higher station in Jannah. May Allah make us all people Jannah. A higher station in Jannah on the Day of Judgment. Question arises, I gave $400 this month. Should I expect a $400 increment in my paycheck next month? No, that's not how it works. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His wisdom, will send the money to you in a matter that you cannot have ever imagined, and He will pay you back, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never defaults on His loan, ever. So, how do we know the money has come back to you? I'll give an idea. You were expecting a bonus of $20,000, you got $30,000. You were expecting a tax benefit of $2,000, you got $10,000. Someone invited you for dinner that night.
You went to a restaurant with your wife, someone paid off your check without ever letting you know. The waiter comes to you and says, somebody has taken care of it for you. This is your sadaqah coming back to you without you even knowing about where it would come from. You're about to pay a fine and somehow the judge canceled your ticket. That's money saved. That also is your sadaqah coming back to you. That's how Allah returns the money the way that you gave sadaqah away. Sometimes you receive a single book, or someone receive a small gift from somebody. That too is your sadaqah coming back to you. Lastly, brothers and sisters, before we take a break, inshallah, wudu and salah is something which is clear to us, and reading the Quran as well. One thing we oftentimes miss out on Laylat-ul-Qadr is a dua. Understand this, because of the virtue of this night, chances of your dua being accepted increase also dramatically. And dua works on the principle of probability. Whatever you can do to increase the probability of your dua being accepted, do that. For example, many scholars have facing the qibla while making dua increase the chances. Go ahead and do that. Some scholars even comment and say making wudu while making dua also increases the chances. Go ahead and do that. We know from the hadith of An-Nabi alayhi salam, in which he said, before you start making dua, say Alhamdulillah, then send salah and salam upon me, then make dua. Another hadith says that whenever he used to make dua, he would raise his hands. So raise your hands while making dua. Another hadith says that he would repeat his dua multiple times, 3 times frequently. And that there are multiple different ways. So seeking the time, the place, the actions, whatever you can do to enhance your dua, go ahead and do so. And make sure you do so, especially on Laylat-ul-Qadr. May Allah accept all of our hasanat, all of our good deeds, all of our efforts in this blessed night. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to capture and maximize our profit on Laylat-ul-Qadr. Before we end the first session tonight, are there any questions, brothers and sisters? Not a single brother raised the hand. 3 sisters. Yes, my dear sister, go ahead. Yes. Repeat that one more time. I'm sorry, I missed that. Yes. Yes, inshallah you can, and that will have the same profit. The sister was asking for a lady who cannot pray, but obviously in her state she can still make sajdatul tilawa or sajdatul shukr. Can she expect the same reward while making dua at that time in that sajda? The answer is yes, because the sajda is not singled out only for salah. Yes, of course. Excellent. Go ahead. Brothers have a question? Yes, go ahead, my dear. Very good point. I do not know a whole lot of surahs from the Quran. A recent convert, or for that matter, Allah never obligated me to memorize the entire Quran. I memorized 4 surahs, I'm happy with that. Do I need to memorize a lot more Quran to do Qiyamul Layl better? The answer is no. It does help for sure, I can assure you that much. For those of us whom Allah blessed with the ability to memorize a lot of Quran, it really enhances your Qiyamul Layl. But if you do not know, easiest thing to do, let's say Allah has given the capacity to only memorize 5 surahs, Surah Al-Fatiha and the 4 Qul. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq, and Qul a'udhu birabbin nas. That's all you know. Is that sufficient? Yes, inshallah it is sufficient. For Qiyamul Layl it is. Say Surah Al-Fatiha and recite the 4 in the same order. After the first circuit, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. I'm gonna get bored. Yes, I understand that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not. The only person who will stop is you. But every single time you keep repeating this cycle, you are getting more and more and more reward. So let not having memorized less Quran be a deterrent for you to stand up and pray and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at night. But one more time, if you do memorize more Quran, it will certainly help you. It will certainly encourage you to get up and memorize, recite the Quran. And one more time, the best time to absorb the message of the Quran is at night, based on the word we discussed with Al-Muzammil. Yes, sisters, go ahead. Very good point. When you make dua in sajda, in salah, does it have to be in Arabic or not? So let's answer this question in 2 different ways. Difference between fard and sunnah salawat is known in this matter. In sunnah, we have a lot more flexibility. As long as we maintain the same structure, sunnah salawat contain a lot more flexibility. Also, a lot of mistakes can be overlooked in sunnah salawat without anything being compromised. That's one of the reasons why I've never seen a single scholar, let alone a layperson like you and I. I've never even seen a scholar, when they pray sunnah the same length as if they pray the fard. Never. Why? Because everyone considers sunnah to be less important. So even when we pray sunnah, we almost never exert ourselves or focus on sunnah the same way we focus on fard, because there's nothing wrong with that. Fard is fard. It's much more important and requires your full concentration. So when it comes to making dua in salah, in fard salah, I believe that even in fard salah, in sajda, after you said Subhan Rabbil A'la, you can make dua in your language, whatever it is. You can verbalize inshallah, or you can say it in your heart. It does not matter. Having said that, certain fuqaha did insist that at least for fard salah, make dua in Arabic. But even they admitted that for sunnah salawat, they have no objection. You can make dua in your own language. So the only disagreement on this matter is for fard salah. For sunnah, there's no disagreement. You can make dua in your own language, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Brothers? Okay. Go ahead, you ask a question by the time Mike gets over there. What's the ruling on? This is the loaded question over there. Okay, the sister's asking the question for a lady who cannot read, who cannot pray because of the monthly cycle. What is the hukum for reading the Quran? There are three famous opinions on this matter. The most well-known opinion is that a lady cannot recite, not reading, cannot recite Quran when she's in that state. I do believe there's deficiency in this opinion, but it's a very famous opinion. I'm not saying it's a correct opinion, but it's a very famous opinion. The strongest opinion is that you cannot touch the Quran, but you can read and recite it. The third opinion says if a lady has to memorize and she's in memorizing cycle with the fear that she can actually forget, put on gloves or use paper, and you can even then handle the mushaf, inshallah. So if you have to read the Quran, inshallah, even if a lady who cannot do so, if she cannot pray at that time of the month, she can easily read and recite the Quran. In modern times, the easiest thing on earth possible. The cell phone. It's right there. You don't have to touch the mushaf. The hukum for the mushaf does not ever get on the cell phone. This filthy piece of device can never equate to the mushaf. So there's no issue in modern times anyway for a lady. If you follow the second opinion, which I think is the strongest, a lady should not touch the Quran unless there's an absolute need to do so. But in modern times, there's absolutely no worry. You can use the iPad or you can use the phone for that, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Brothers, yes, go ahead. Do you know of any other ways to maximize dua? For sure, there's a very good reason why the Muslim Ummah always urges our noble scholars or awliya to make dua on our behalf. Why? Because it is understood, and it is understood correctly. People who are more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chances of their dua being accepted increase. That's the reason why famously, Umar al-Khattab, every single dua he used to make would be accepted and answered. So, if you are a person who stays away from sins, your dua, the chance of your dua being accepted increase. If you are one of those people who get up at night and pray frequently, the chance of your dua being accepted increase. If you are a person who makes wudu and stays in a state of wudu frequently, the chance of your dua being accepted increase. If you're a person who stays in the masjid frequently, the chance of your dua being accepted increase. If you're a person who stays away from even things that are doubtful, not clearly haram, that are doubtful, the chance of your dua being accepted increase. There are multiple different ways or methods in which the chance of dua being accepted increase dramatically. And there are a whole host of other things that we can talk about, inshallah, at another time. I'll come to you, inshallah. Sisters, yes, go ahead. I missed all of that. I'm so sorry. I missed all of that. Yes. Oh. She's saying, Allah said on Laylat-ul-Qadr, your good deeds, or rather your deeds, are multiplied as if you've done the same deed as a period of more than 1,000 months. What about your evil deeds? Majority of scholars said that that is not the case for evil deeds. And what is the proof for that? Famous hadith of An-Nabi, and I love this hadith. Everyone should know this hadith. The Prophet said, if a person intends to do a good deed and he does it, Allah rewards for him 10 hasanat. Whatever the quality, whatever the designated reward for that deed is, Allah will always multiply it at least by 10 times, up to 700 times or more than that. If a person intends to do an evil deed and does it, it is only recorded as one evil deed. A separate hadith says that Allah commands the angels, wait, do not write it on his record for 6 hours. Maybe he'll make tawbah. This is from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only that, the hadith also says if a person intends to do bad deed and he, out of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does not do it, Allah still records that for them as a good deed. So inshallah, we hope based on these ahadith, a person's sin, may Allah keep us away from sins in the last 10 nights, whatever they are no more than one in the record. As for good deeds, the rewards multiplied 1,000 times, period of 1,000 months worship or more than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. My dear brother, yes, go ahead. Oh, all of you have such loaded questions, huh? What is the best form of Qiyamul Layl? Praying it alone or praying in Jama'ah? Better question would be Taraweeh. Because Qiyamul Layl, generally speaking, you'll be lucky if you can find 2-3 people who pray every single night with you, even your own household. That's a fact, actually. That's been the fact throughout centuries. But Taraweeh, what is the superior form of Taraweeh? Multiple issues come into play. There is no disagreement that Salatul Isha should be in the masjid. That's the highest from Salatul Isha. Can you pray Salatul Isha in Jama'ah at your home? Yes. But there's no denying the reward in the masjid is greater for that. But the reward of salawat, the way described in the ahadith, is attached to the masjid for fard salawat, not for sunnah. We know from the ahadith of An-Nabi ﷺ that he said, do not make your houses like qubur, like graveyards. In other words, always pray sunnah in your homes. In fact, famously, it is narrated for him that he would only pray sunnah in his homes. In his case, it will be so much easier because his home was literally right there. The masjid, he leaves people in Jama'ah over there, and he has to walk a few feet and his house is right there. But in our case, we don't have that luxury. The question arises, should I go and pray Taraweeh at home or should I attend the masjid? I'll tell you this. If you go at home, the same place where you have difficulty getting up at night and praying tahajjud, chances are you're going to have difficulty praying Taraweeh regularly because homes are so comfortable. Home sweet home. That's the reason we call it that. Home is not a place where naturally your spirit is revived. It's a place where naturally laziness comes into play. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the purpose of home, is to give you a sense of comfort and release from anxiety. One of the advantages of praying the masjid is that there are people around you. You are a tiny bit more tense, a tiny bit unrelaxed in the masjid. Chances are you'll pray all 30 nights in the masjid if you come for Taraweeh. And chances are if you try to do it in masjid at home, you may not be able to. Having said that, famously, An-Nabi ﷺ used to do what? Pray Taraweeh by himself. He did that for his entire life, except those 3 nights he did that. And inshallah, with that, we'll end because it's been too long. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's do that. I leave it up to you guys. If you want to do that, and we don't have to extend the program, especially if people want to do something beyond listen to me speak. If they want to pray, I leave it up to them, inshallah. Yes? Okay.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for the first session. So inshallah, we're going to take a break. And inshallah, as you guys know, this is a very special night. So we were thinking to pray. So who is interested in praying, inshallah, while we are doing this break? Just put your hands up. It's okay if you don't want to vote. Nobody put their hands up. Who wants to pray 2 rak'ats while we are on a break? Yes, we're going to be praying Jama'ah. We're going to be praying Jama'ah. No peer pressure. It's a short 2 rak'ats. It's not going to be long at all. It will not be longer than 5 minutes. Huh? I did. It'll just be 5 minutes. So inshallah, we're going to do it? Okay, inshallah. So we're gonna do 5 minutes quick qiyam, inshallah, and then we're gonna get back to the second session. And then right after that, we're gonna take a break, and then that break will be snacks, inshallah. We won't be praying on that one. And then we'll start the qiyam after that, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
استووا استقيموا واعتدلوا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض ولم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك وخلق كل شيء فقدره تقديرا واتخذوا من دونه آلهة لا يخلقون ولا يملكون واتخذوا من دونه آلهة لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون ولا يملكون لأنفسهم ضرا ولا نفعا ولا يملكون موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك افتراه وأعانه عليه قوم آخرون فقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا. وقالوا أساطير الأولين اكتتبها فهي تملى عليه بكرة وأصيلا. قل أنزله الذي يعلم السر في السماوات والأرض إنه كان غفورا رحيما. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حميده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والذين لا يشهدون الزور وإذا مروا باللغو مروا كراما. والذين إذا ذكروا بآيات ربهم لم يخروا عليها سما وعميانا. والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. أولئك يجزون الغرفة بما صبروا ويلقون فيها تحية وسلاما. خالدين فيها حسنت مستقرا ومقاما. قل ما يعبأ بكم ربي لولا دعاؤكم فقد كذبتم فسوف يكون لزاما. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حميده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Okay, inshallah, we're going to start the second session, inshallah. If I can request the brothers, inshallah, to come to the brother's side, and for the sisters also, inshallah, we're going to get started the second session.
How high should I go? Here. Hello? Okay. A little bit down, okay. He's trying to put you to sleep. Assalamu alaikum. No, it's because of the two mics being closed. That could be the only reason. Let's see. I'll leave it up to you. It's on, yeah. Okay, and you can, all of you can hear me clearly, right? Okay. As they say, I'm going to do a cardinal sin. As they say in the masjid. I'm going to change the format of the program. I'm going to do the topic of session 3 into session 2 because of what's coming after session 2, the break of snacking, inshallah. So the topic for session 3 was the etiquettes of eating and drinking, inshallah. But since we're going to do eating, drinking after the session, might as well talk about this ahead of time to, if anything, give us a tiny bit more advantage while we go into eating and drinking for the snacks. The deen of ours, this deen of ours is a complete religion, which means nothing has been missed or skipped from it. Eating and drinking is something we think about, plan for, engage in more frequently than we engage in salah. We do eat no more than 3 times a day, generally speaking, but drinking, or all the times we drink in a single day, overall is far more frequently than what we do for salah. In fact, as I said before, even planning for eating and drinking takes a lot of time and effort on our part. And the reason is because it is one of the fundamental ways in which we exist, or we find pleasure in, or how we provide nutrition for our bodies. Eating and drinking is something interesting. In Jannah, eating and drinking is not for nutrition. It is purely for the pleasure of it. So all of these ayat talking about what you get to eat in Jannah, the drinks in Jannah, the rivers in Jannah, the birds of Jannah, the fruits of Jannah, all of them are talking about you enjoying eating, drinking solely for the sake of pleasure, not for need. There is no need in Jannah. You can remain hungry, there's no reason for you to do so, but you can remain hungry indefinitely and you will not perish or even decline in strength the tiniest bit. In Jannah, if you would like to, you can never drink a single sip, hypothetically of course, and you will never get thirsty. But again, why would you deprive yourself from the pleasures of Jannah when you're in Jannah? And you will, inshallah, not do that. In dunya, matters different. In dunya, all of our actions, at least all of our deeds, what was described, are classified, broadly speaking, from a Shari'i perspective into 2 categories. One is called ibadat. The second is called mu'amalat, which means all actions of devotion, everything we do for the sake of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has come down to us as an action to please Him with, are considered to be ibadat. For example, salah, wudu, dua, hajj, zakah, sadaqah. These are well-known actions of ibadah, and they're classified as being ibadat. These actions are sanctioned by the Sharia specifically, which means any action that is not specified by the Sharia cannot be an action of ibadah and is categorically haram, which means you cannot go attend mass on Sunday in a church and hope to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nor can you attend a Hindu ceremony in a temple and hope to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way He's described in places that He's described. So worshipping is a tiny bubble. Everything outside this is haram. Mu'amalat are just the opposite. The prohibitions are this much, and everything outside is halal. For example, when you study Islamic finance, what we study are the muharramat, not the things that are halal, because everything by default is halal. The only thing we need to worry about is riba, gharar, maisir, qimar. These are the things we worry about. That's it. Everything outside that is halal by default. Eating and drinking are within mu'amalat, which means everything in eating and drinking is halal, except do not consume the flesh of swine, do not consume carrion or dead meat, or blood which is flowing or gushing blood, or the flesh of donkeys or dogs, and a couple other things. That's it. Everything outside that, enjoy. So eating and drinking has so much openness and ease in this matter. We are not talking about halal and haram at all today. What we're talking about, things are in the middle of those. Things that are mustahab and things that are makruh. That are recommended for you to do and things that are recommended for you not to do. That's what we'll discuss today. And this is how adab in general are, or etiquettes in general are. There are matters of better and matters slightly worse. Not matters that are required or matters that are prohibited. I hope this point is clear. We begin, inshallah, with a famous incident with when An-Nabi ﷺ married Salama. Salama was the widow of Abu Salama. When Abu Salama passed away, radiallahu anhu, he left behind 4 girls and a boy. The boy's name was Umar. He was the youngest. He is Umar ibn Abi Salama. He narrates this hadith. He said, one day I rushed into the house and An-Nabi was eating from a plate. And I started darting my hand all around the plate. So he stopped and he turned towards me. He said, Ya ghulam, sammillah, wa kul bi yaminik, wa kul mimma yalik. O young boy, mention the name of Allah. Eat with your right hand and eat from that which is closest to you. In this one hadith, An-Nabi gave this young boy and us 3 etiquettes when it comes to eating and drinking. The first etiquette: every single time you're about to start eating and drinking, every single session of eating and drinking, not every single bite or every single, what do you call that, gulp, but every single session of eating and drinking should precede or should follow with Bismillah. So at this moment, since I'm about to drink for purpose demonstration, I will say Bismillah. The next gulp, I don't have to say Bismillah. The first Bismillah will suffice that. When you're about to have snacks right now after the end of the session, the first time you say Bismillah, and that will cover every action of eating, drinking in that one session. And that's how the etiquette of Bismillah is. Why do we do that? An-Nabi said, every single time you say Bismillah, you prevent shaitan from eating and drinking with you, because the habit of shaitan is to steal away and snatch from you good deeds and your nutrition and your khairat and all the things that benefit you. And so, whenever a person eats and drinks, shaitan eats and drinks with them. But if a person says Bismillah before they start eating and drinking, it prohibits that food from benefiting shaitan. How does he steal from your food? We do not know. But based on that, we do know that he benefits from that. And one more time, if you remember from last session I said, anything that you don't do that irritates shaitan, by default, pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. Something that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immensely is when you mention His name before you start eating and or drinking. Number 2, the hadith says, eat with the right hand. And Nabi told us that it is a habit of shaitan that he eats and drinks with his left hand. He is very interesting. In American culture, the etiquette, the height of cultured upbringing is for a person to eat with their left hand. Now, this is something that's corrupted with time. They also, as a culture, used to eat with the right hand, because till this day, if you go to a church which is strongly Catholic, the nuns over there, famously till this day, will discipline you if you use your left hand to write or to eat. For them, it's also that you eat and you write with the right hand. They do not like for you to do so with the left hand, especially for kids. They will teach them, sometimes with corporal punishment attached to it, if a person uses the left hand. So eating and drinking with the right hand is part of not just our Sharia, but the Shariat before us as well. They also had the same ruling, because shaitan has been attacking mankind since the time of our father Adam alayhi salam. So eating and drinking with the right hand is the correct way to do so. What do you go in a restaurant? What do you do in a restaurant? Many of us, especially living in America, we eat foods that are chunky foods. In other words, something for which we do need to use a knife frequently. Whether they're meats, boiled vegetables, fruits, sometimes even desserts, you need to cut them. Now, habitually, what people do, because all of us, or 96% of mankind, is actually right-handed, what do? Cutting with the left hand is not easy. So we switch. We cut with the right hand, knife, and the left hand has the fork, and then we'll switch to the fork and eat with that. That is too cumbersome. I'm about as humanly possible right-handed. I cannot do anything with the left hand except that one thing I have to do in the bathroom. But one thing I train myself very well with is to wield a knife with the left hand. I can make very delicate cuts with the left hand. In other words, if I need to cut meat, I can just use my left hand to cut the meat and use the right hand to do that. Inshallah, train yourself and get in the habit. If you have to use utensils frequently for eating your food, use the right hand for that. The third portion that he mentions in this hadith, the third etiquette, is eat from that which is closest to you. When we go over there, if a large dish is being served and people are taking food around it, eat or take from food that is in front of you. Imagine that you are sitting in a gathering where there's a large platter in the middle and everyone comes over there, take from the side. You come up and take that large piece of chicken in the middle and walk out. How do you think people will feel? Worse than that, for example, you're sitting and eating in front of a table, your friend was there, you were here, and your friend has been eyeing that piece of meat in front of he's about to finish it, and you snipe over there and grab it. Is it haram for you to do so? No. But it is certainly bad manners. And I can promise you, at that moment, you and him will not be good friends. Because you literally took one thing that he was eyeing for a while. So be smart about this. Matters of etiquette should improve your relationship with people, not spoil them. If, however, for example, kabsa is served for you, all the meat is on his side and all the rice is on your side, then yes, you can seek his permission. Do you mind if I take a few pieces of meat from your side? Because I only have rice here. That's fine. If you seek permission, you can reach over and do that. Famously, An-Nabi alayhi salam, Anas said, a farmer, is it farmer? A carpenter, farmer or carpenter, invited An-Nabi alayhi salam for dinner. And he had served him what? A broth full of pieces of what we call pumpkin. And I saw An-Nabi alayhi salam chasing the piece of pumpkin everywhere. So a person may deduce from that, it's allowed for you to chase around everywhere. Yes, because the host is allowing the guest to do whatever he wants. That's a separate matter. A host will be pleased if the guest goes to the food that they want. We serve, or we dump rather, food in the plates of our guests, don't we know, when invited to our homes. That's a separate situation. However, when people are sitting like this, eat from that which is closest to you and do not go on the other side. Another hadith, or another issue, Ka'b bin Malik reported, I saw the Messenger of Allah eating with 3 fingers and licking them. There are 2 more etiquettes in this one hadith. Eating the 3 fingers has become a big issue of discussion among the fuqaha. How do you define 3 fingers? Is it 1, 2, and 3, the thumb? Or is it 1, 2, and 3, and the thumb is just an addition? How do you define 3 fingers? Simply put, I do not know. But we understand one thing from this hadith. Whatever you eat, take small portions. That is the sunnah of An-Nabi alayhi salam. Do not eat like this. Eat small portions. Take small amounts of food and eat like this. That is the objective with eating with fingers. Second issue of contention, especially in modern times, is it closest to the sunnah, i.e. more rewardable for you to intentionally abandon utensils and eat with your fingers? One more time. Is it more rewardable in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you were to let go of utensils and eat specifically with your hands? I do not think that is the case. At the time of An-Nabi alayhi salam, it is said that he actually had access to a knife, and it is said he would use the knife to cut meat with. And guess what? He used to use the left hand to cut meat with the knife. So, in other words, people, if they had access to utensils at that time, perhaps they would have done that. We do not know. But the hadith does not specify a greater reward for abandoning utensils, especially for the kind of foods that we eat and what we're accustomed with. What is clear is that you eat small portions and that you eat them in a matter of finesse. And that's the objective behind eating like this. The second portion, the second issue of this hadith, licking the fingers, very important point. The Prophet ﷺ said that whenever you lose some food that drops off, pick it up and clean it and eat it. You do not know what portion of your food the barakah lies in. What is barakah, very quickly speaking? Barakah is a phenomenon allowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our religion, which means when barakah defines something little becomes enough. Whatever small quantity they have suffices a lot more people. That's why An-Nabi alayhi salam said the food of 2 people is sufficient for 3, and the food of 3 is sufficient for 4. Because al-mu'minun, whenever they eat together, Allah puts barakah in their food. That's why An-Nabi alayhi salam also said, when you sit down and eat together, eat from the sides of the plate because barakah descends in the center. That's one of the reasons why you should not be eating from the center of the plate. You do not want all the barakah of yourself. You should share it with other people. The etiquette of eating in a community plate is you start spiraling in slowly and slowly until all of you together finish food in the middle, but you eat from the sides. So whenever you have to finish eating food, do not reach for the napkin immediately, especially if you're in a family setting or in a setting of close friends. Lick your fingers without hesitation. To the extent the Sahaba used to practice this, if they had no desire to lick, they will give their fingers to be licked by a baby or even a cat, just so that they can follow the sunnah of An-Nabi alayhi salam. I'm not asking you to get a pet cat so she can lick your fingers. But what I'm trying to say is simply this. You can lick your fingers before you start wiping them off with a napkin. In our times, we have access to napkins. Every single time we sit down, we have our own napkin. So before we do anything, we just clean our fingers. But that is not the sunnah of An-Nabi alayhi salatu salam. Another issue famously, everyone would ask, is there a hadith that talks about washing my hands before or after eating? There are multiple ahadith that talk about washing your hands before and after eating. However, not a single of those ahadith is sahih. But it is from common sense for you to wash your hands before and after eating, especially in post-COVID period. Let's be honest, washing our hands is highly recommended and highly beneficial. More so if you're going to take from plates or use utensils that everybody's going to touch. Please wash your hands so that you do not transfer anything from your end. As for wiping your hands or washing your hands afterwards, I do not know of a hadith which is sahih which talks about washing, but wiping multiple ahadith. A Sahabi famously mentioned, he said, whenever we were done eating, we would wipe our hands on whatever we are sitting on, yani a pillow or a carpet, on the ground or at the bottom of our feet. Exactly what he said, which means when it comes to cleaning their hands, they rather have clean hands than clean feet. Another reason is because the Sahaba, unlike us, did not have access to a lot of shoes. Many of them used to live their lives almost barefooted, which means a lot of things will touch their feet, including grease, and with time, dust and everything will wipe that grease off. So for them, they used to wipe their hands after eating. And yes, let's be blunt about this. Many of us have cuisines or backgrounds that we come from where the food is very strong smelling. When we come to the masjid, we should make sure nothing that we do becomes a nuisance for anybody else. You may enjoy the smell of your food, the person standing next to you may not. He or she may be from different culture. For them, that actually is disgusting. So just out of courtesy for your fellow Muslims, make sure you wash your hands properly and remove any smell. I'll tell you, sometimes from the cuisine that I prefer to eat frequently, it is so strong smelling, sometimes I actually have to use dishwasher soap on my hands to get rid of the smell. It's so strong. So in a point of taking care of your brothers and sisters, make sure, inshallah, that you do that. Being generous with your food is something which is highly recommended in our deen, which means what? Whenever you can share, inshallah. Now, the irony is, modern times, we have so much food, we actually have to store it instead of sharing it. And even when we store it, we cannot eat it. We ultimately end up doing what? Throwing away. Let's be blunt about this. How many times a year do we throw away bananas? They turn black before we're able to finish them. How many times that plate that we wrapped up with the saran wrap, we have to toss it out because it's growing something. It's been sitting there for 2 weeks in the fridge. We never got to it. The irony in our time is that we are, the first time in the history of humanity, we are killing ourselves by overeating. All throughout humanity, people were dying because of undernourishment. In the past 70 years, the equation is flipped. People are dying because of overnourishment. And that's the reason, because we have access to so much food. So if you can, inshallah, share your food. And here's an argument to be made, very clear about this. Please pay attention and play along with me. When you discard food, it is, for sure wrong. Is it forbidden? That's the question. Let me put it this way. If I throw away food that I tried to preserve, made a genuine attempt to preserve, but could not get to eating it, if I throw it away, am I sinful or not? There is a hadith of An-Nabi ﷺ that says, the worst thing the son of Adam fills up is his stomach. Therefore, Shaykh al-Uthaymin used to say, do not make your stomach a trash can. That is from the Sunnah. What is not from the Sunnah is that you try to keep foods saved up, and then ultimately you have to throw away because you cannot find anybody to give it away. If you can find somebody to give it away, that's okay. If you cannot, I urge you, please, especially if it has green stuff growing on it, throw it away. It is not wisdom for you to consume food that is soiled or old, especially if you fear it will cause you some stomach distress. Nor is it wisdom that every single time a little portion is left at the bottom, oh, let me just eat it instead of storing it away. You're just eating food that you do not need to eat. You're consuming calories that have no benefit for you. Beyond a certain point, that food is acting like poison, nothing less than that. It is harming your body, it's bringing you closer to death, and it's making you ill at that moment. So please, do not need to clean the plate. If anything that you do not want to eat, leave it on the side and store it. If beyond a certain point you cannot store it, trash it. That is closest to the Sunnah. For you not to harm yourself by eating unnecessary food or eating filthy food. May Allah give us the best in this world and the next. Another Sunnah of An-Nabi ﷺ was that he would never ever criticize food. Abu Hurairah said that An-Nabi ﷺ never used to criticize food. Whatever he liked, he would eat it. Whatever he disliked, he would leave it. Sometimes it boggles the mind. People, when they invite you for iftar to somebody's house, they'll have their food and then sit, but two people talking, it was too salty. You ate two portions of that. Now you think it's salty? The tea was too sweet. After an entire cup, you decide the tea is sweet? That's ridiculous. Why didn't you leave at that moment? And the worst is sometimes they criticize on the face of the host. That is really bad manners. The person invited you and you very slyly and very subtly insulted the person. Or worse, you insulted his wife because she cooked it. You just said your wife is a terrible cook because I could not enjoy food. Please have good etiquette. Don't mention this to the host. Having said that, if the host asks for a genuine opinion or feedback, do you think the food was good? Or at least tell me, was it too salty? Then you can say, yes, it was salty. I thought so. Having said that, if you do not enjoy the food, leave it on the side. And that's okay, inshallah. You're not going to embarrass the host or yourself by eating food that you do not want to eat. That is not from the sunnah to do that. Every single time we eat food, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is from the sunnah of An-Nabi alayhi salam to do so. He said famously, "At-ta'imu shakiru bimanzilati sa'imi sabir." I love this hadith. The grateful person while he's eating is in the same position as the fasting person while he's patient. In other words, when you eat, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you're not eating, be patient. Like we are patient in the morning, and when we break our fast, be thankful that Allah grant you the opportunity to break your fast. Imagine that Allah has said you cannot break your fast until Isha. How many of us would have a nightmare from Maghrib to Isha? Today we have Allah's mercy that we can break our fast in Maghrib. I know we all wish we were Asr time, but yes, at least we can break our fast in Maghrib. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Every single bite after Maghrib is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, I'm going to demonstrate one thing. An-Nabi alayhi salam said, I do not eat while I'm muttaki, or while I'm doing ittika. So let me demonstrate what is that. Ittika is something mentioned so many times in the Quran. Muttaki'ina fiha ala al-araik, or muttaki'ina ala furushin bata'inuha min istabarak. What is ittika? This is jalasa, or tajlis, sitting, inshallah. And this is lying down. All of you know about this. We all wish we can do this right now, right? Between the two of them is this, or this. This is the position of ittika. Generally speaking, in our times, we don't do this because we don't have seatings which are like this. But when these ayat were revealed, the elite of the Quraysh, not just elite, every single person, when they were relaxing, would be relaxing like this, because they did not have access to chairs like we do today. For them, this was the relaxed position, or they would lie down. And Nabi alayhi salam said that I do not eat while I'm in this position. Is it haram for you to do so? No. But it is not from your sunnah to do so. Which means when you're eating, either you're sitting, or we're going to talk about this in a moment, the idea of eating while standing. That is better, but not to do so in the state of ittika. When do you do so? When you enter Jannah. Every single ayah talking about your state of ittika also is connected to the idea you're eating at that moment. I love this ayah because imagine Allah's mercy, you're completely relaxed in a state of ittika. Sorry about this. You're completely relaxed. And to the extent that ayat mentioned and the scholars of tafsir describe this, when you reach for a food or a fruit, all you need to do is extend your hand and the branch will come down. And there's not a single fruit that you pick up from the floor. Every single fruit you get to pluck because there's a tiny bit more satisfaction from plucking fresh fruit than picking that on the floor. In Jannah, you only pluck. You do not pick up anything from the floor. So, everything that we talked about, the etiquettes are etiquettes of eating. Etiquettes of drinking are 3 more. I wish someone can give me a bottle of water that I can demonstrate better. Do we have one more bottle, or can I get one from one of you? If you don't mind sharing, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. The poor guy, I only looked at him, he had no choice. Forgive me. This is, sorry about waking you up unnecessarily. Okay. The first sunnah of An-Nabi alayhi salam is this. Whenever he would drink in 3 sips. All of you know this. So, we're going to demonstrate, inshallah, what do we mean by that. When we say drinking, we start with what? Bismillah. So this is how we drink, and this is the way he used to drink. In their time, Bismillah. To reduce, in their time, they used to have water skins. Water skin is drunk like this. You don't drink water skin from here. You lift it up like this, and you drink when it comes pouring down. So this is how he used to drink. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Bismillah. Clearly, I have not mastered the technique yet. This is the sunnah, or the closest to sunnah that we know of. Excuse me. Can I drink like this is a question, and you tell me. Can I? It is jaiz, but it is permissible, but there's something you can do better than that. The same action of drinking, if I follow the sunnah, I get reward for it. Do you understand what I'm trying to talk about? Mu'amalat can be elevated to ibadat if you follow the sunnah, or you do something which is the practice of An-Nabi alayhi salam. The same action, but different reward levels for that. One has no reward, the second has reward. So, every single time you're about to drink, Anas reported that An-Nabi alayhi salam said, every single time you drink and you take breaths between them, it is more healing and more thirst quenching. After a young man who's played basketball for 2 hours, it's difficult for them to restrain themselves and do a glug, 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 glug way of drinking. But especially for the young men and young women, after a hard day of working, try to follow the sunnah at that moment. I promise you will find it to be much more healing. Not only that, less amount of water will still suffice you and will satiate you, inshallah, if possible. The second etiquette of drinking, this is important also. We do not breathe in the bottle or on the cup that we're drinking. I don't have a cup, but we do not breathe into it. There's a reason for that. At the time this hadith was revealed, people used to share one water skin or one cup. They did not have luxury like we have today. Every single person has a plastic cup. You drink once, you can trash it. In those times, they had one cup made of, if they're lucky, metal, or very likely made of earthen, or like what do you call the mud, that was transferred 3-4 generations down. This is my grandfather's cup, my father's cup. Today I use the same cup, and my son is going to use it. Cups were family heirlooms, is what I'm trying to say. Today we have a lot more luxury than that. In a situation where multiple people are sharing the same utensil, do not breathe into it. It is against the sunnah of alayhi wasallam. It is actually makruh. It's very just disgusting. Again, it's not haram. It's just disgusting habit to do so. Having said that, for a lady who has young children, please, please, please blow into the cup, especially if they're about to drink something hot. That's common sense. You will not do anything to harm your child, a lady or a gent. If you want to cool the food down or the drink down for your child, yes, inshallah, you can blow in that cup and fine. The third, and this is perhaps the only matter of halal and haram that we'll talk about tonight, drinking while standing. This is the most contentious issue. So much disagreement among the fuqaha about this matter. Famous hadith of Anas ibn Malik, in which he said, Ar-Nabi alayhi salam prohibited people from drinking while standing. I have to do this, but I cannot do this with this thing on. I'm going to have to remove this for a second. Otherwise, it will come and... How about this? I'll try to speak now. Did that work? Okay. And Nabi alayhi wasallam said, rather Anas bin Malik said that the Prophet alayhi wasallam forbade us from drinking while standing. Hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, in which he said, and we used to walk in the streets of Medina while eating and stand while drinking. Two hadith, both sahih, they're contradicting each other. The third hadith is from Abdullah ibn Abbas. He said, the Prophet ﷺ drank Zamzam while standing. The fourth hadith of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that's the most important one. When he became Khalifa, he was in the masjid of Kufa. Yani he understands what his situation is. He is the highest authority at that time in the Muslim Ummah. So he understands. People look at him the way he used to look at An-Nabi alayhi salam. Every single thing that he does is example and something that people will end up emulating. So he got up, he was brought a water skin, he made wudu from that one. And while everyone's looking, he stood up, drank like this. Then he turned to the people, he said, I heard that some of you have said that it is prohibited for a person to drink while standing. And yet I did what I saw An-Nabi alayhi salam do. So first side says it is prohibited for people to drink while standing. And the second side brings evidence, they're not one, not two, but three ahadith, all from famous Sahaba, all known for understanding of fiqh, and all people who were very, very, very close to An-Nabi alayhi salam. And they all contradict you. How do we reconcile these ahadith? Simply put, it's this. Our scholars say, if you have no need to stand while drinking water, sit down. So in your homes, sit down while drinking water. If you invite for iftar, you're about to drink, sit down. Please do not sit down while you're waiting in the line at the airport. That's a terrible idea, especially if you're waiting to board the plane. Drink while standing. Do not sit down at that moment. You can cause people to tumble over on top of you. Or worse, you may miss your spot in the line. If you're at the DMV, drink while standing. It is makruh, not haram. And even the hukum of makruh will drop if there's a good need for that. If there's a need for you to stand while drinking, stand. If there's a need for you to eat while drinking, stand while eating, while standing, eat inshallah. Otherwise, if you can sit down, that is closest to the sunnah of Nabi alayhi salam. With this, inshallah, we'll end. I'll give only 5 minutes to question because I'm already eating in everybody's time, and I know everyone is patiently waiting for food since I've been talking food the better part of half an hour now. Go ahead. Actually, more than half an hour. Any questions? I'll start with the brothers, inshallah, because they appear to be more sleepy. Any brothers have a question that I can answer about what discussed so far? Yes, go ahead. Just speak up. I'll repeat the question, inshallah. Yes. I'm sorry, I coughed the moment you said it. A good question. He's saying, I said that a mother should blow into the cup of a child, especially if the drink is hot. Can I do that for my own cup? Yes, please. Otherwise, you'll not be able to drink beyond the first one because it will burn you. So yes, it is not against the sunnah to prevent yourself from any harm. It is from the sunnah to prevent yourself from any harm. If you have to do that, inshallah, do that. No problem. Go ahead. Absolutely. Especially if you're eating or drinking from your own cup and plate, in that scenario, blowing into it is not a problem. I'm talking about community cups that multiple people are sharing, which in our times does not happen. Or in a situation which is a large pot in which, let's say, food is being served. It will be foolish, but I've seen people do that. They'll pick up from that and they'll blow. At least they're blowing on the spoon. Please, first put in your plate, then blow on it. Don't blow on the spoon that is going to go inside in the same pot where everybody else is going to eat from. Sisters, go ahead. Is it okay for a person to lean on the wall and eat? Would that be considered to be sitting? Allah SWT knows best. That's a very, I don't know how you could think of something like that, but at least you thought about that. So inshallah, I'll go and ask someone who's more knowledgeable on this matter than I am. Would that be considered to be sitting? I know, I understand what you're saying. Technically, you're not standing on your own 2 feet. You're taking a rest. But would that classify as being sitting? Allah SWT knows best. Is there a word for leaning? What's the word in Arabic for leaning? Can anyone tell me? Which is ironic. It's not, never, smart question, I would say. Go ahead. Sniffing food. It depends on how angry your husband gets. As you know, my dear sisters, in Ramadan, while you're fasting, it is allowed for a lady to even taste food, especially if she's cooking and she's cooking for people who may have an objection. Then in that case, she can taste the food and spit it out instead of swallowing. If you can taste the food, yes, you can smell it, inshallah. In that case, you don't need to be a lady or a husband or anybody in that situation. Anybody can serve the food, inshallah. As long as it not disgust people. Especially in a buffet line, do not come to... That will just disgust people. But yes, you can take out in your plate and smell it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. It is not from the sunnah for you to eat every single thing that falls in your plate. As I said before, if the Prophet did not like something, he would leave it, which means it was on his plate. Not that he looked at Ali's plate, oh, that looks disgusting, you eat it, I'm not gonna touch it. No, it was in his plate, he did not like it, he would not eat it. Or rather, it was in his section, yes. Yes. I can assure you, if you smell like chicken curry, your fellow sisters will understand what the scenario is, number one. Number two, if you want to cover up the smell of perfume, let's clear this matter. It is not prohibited for a lady to put on perfume, even in public. What is prohibited is for her to put on enough perfume that causes attraction, especially from members of the gender she's not to be acquired, which means for ladies, they're allowed to wear perfume as long as it's gentle, and especially if they know, if they know that they'll not be in the company of strange men. However, for men, it's opposite. Strange men are not, please put on perfume and strong smelling perfume, because many times the body odor overwhelms the perfume. So in that scenario, it's a different matter. When it comes to, what do you call that? Not the thing that goes in your deodorant, thank you. Yes, I urge you, that's for everybody. Deodorant in modern times, because of the accessibility, I would say please put on deodorant, everybody, men and women. It really, really prevents body odor. It has a very strong effect in that regard. It is very useful. Go ahead. Yes. Yeah. I got it. I got it. Do you mind if I clarify your point for the sake of brothers, and I'll come straight to you? What the sister mentioned very correctly, she said, if you put on perfume, especially for the lady, to overcome the smell of cooking food, especially that you know will be a detriment to your sisters in the jama'ah, then you should do that. And yes, what she's saying is correct, inshallah. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. I got it. I got it. That's very nice. Wayakum. Two things I'm going to mention. First, the sister mentioned two very good points, and I have an idea. Since it's already 1:30, and I promise I'm going to stop at 1:30, I'm never going to get to the third session. We're not going to do the third, inshallah. We're going to enjoy, what do you call that, our snack and call it an eye, inshallah, number one. Number two. But she mentioned two common issues in Salah that I'll mention, inshallah, for your benefit. Both of them are good. She does, first and foremost, when it comes to salam, the closest to sunnah is let the imam do this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. While you, al-musallin, are still looking straight. Once he said the second time, then you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. There's also wisdom behind that. If he has made a mistake, he wants to sajda sahu. He'll say Assalamu alaikum, stand up. You're doing what? You're saying the second salam without realizing that. But if you let him finish, he may end up standing up for doing sajda sahu or doing something after that, and it will prevent you from making the mistake. So the closest sunnah is this: Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. First the imam says that, then you say it afterwards. I have a funny story with that. I have the practice of doing this, but there was a brother who used to say salam with the imam is sitting on my right. He said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah with the imam, and he said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So he was facing me, and then I said salam, and then he burped straight in my mouth. This was during Ramadan. I remember that. It was the most disgusting time that I had in masjid. But because he burped, and he burped literally in my mouth, because Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and he burped right there. Because he was facing left and I was facing right. So be careful about something like that, inshallah. I have many stories about Salah, by the way. Once I was praying Taraweeh, there's just a funny incident, inshallah. And I'm sitting like this, my fingers like this. A guy, not this guy, next to me, he sneezed and a booger flew, landed my finger in Salah. Imagine what was the condition of my Salah. I somehow was able to keep myself sitting over there. The moment Salam was called, I rushed. I was in the first saf. I did not care. Left, inshallah, went to Wudu to wash my hands. But things, all kinds of things happen. The second thing she said is that when, where's this lady? SubhanAllah, I forgot the second point she was saying. Did she leave? Oh, okay, the second she thing is a good point as well. The sunnah of An-Nabi alayhi salam is that after salam, you stay in your spot and make dhikr. You have no idea how much reward there is. Any dhikr, there are so many mentioned adhkar by the salah. Recite any of them. If you can recite a lot more, go ahead and do so. Every single second you're sitting over there, we know from the hadith of An-Nabi alayhi salam, the angels are making maghfirah for you. Understand this, when it comes to making dua, the angels are a gazillion times more sincere than you and I are. Which means every single time they make dua for you, chance of their dua being accepted is much, much greater than your own dua for yourself. So, if you can find any opportunity in which angels make dua for you, do so. An example for that is An-Nabi ﷺ said, whenever you make dua for your brother in his absence, Allah appoints an angel who makes the same dua for you. Therefore, the scholars used to say, if you want to get, and I'm not trying to be coy, I'm just saying, honestly, if you want to marry a second wife, make dua for your brother that he married the second lady, so that the angel will make dua for them. But this is the case, and many of them generally we used to make dua, oh Allah, grant my brother success in his business, because they want the same for themselves. Oh Allah, grant my brother a new child or more children, so because they want the same thing for themselves. Inshallah, I promise, as I have said before, I wanted to do 2 sessions. I cannot believe I ended up doing 1 to 3 sessions. I ended up doing only 2. And I'm already testing all of your patience, so inshallah we're going to call it a night. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. I'll answer a question afterwards. I know all of them waiting to go to for the snack. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan. I'm honored that you gave me all this time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Sorry for that. So, do you want to do a third session or stop?
We'll stop inshallah, because I don't
No, the third is. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Salman. We were honored to have you here in our company. So, inshallah, we'll be stopping now. We have snacks outside, so feel free to hang out at 2:45. Inshallah, we're going to be starting the qiyam of the night. Inshallah, at 2:45, we're going to be starting the qiyam. Inshallah. So, feel free to hang out.